So I know a lot of translators personally who refuse, by all means, will adamantly refuse to take any translation task that's paid by post-edit distance. What do we mean by post-edit distance? Is you take a file or document, you pre-process it using machine translation, or you work in an environment like BureauWorks context sensitivity where you're continuously re-engineering the feed based on translation behavior. But nonetheless, the translator is given a translation, they accept or change it. That acceptance or change creates a delta. That delta is the edit distance. The edit distance in turn is plugged into a financial framework, a model that determines how much the translator will be paid. And I understand there's deep reluctance in the translation community to work within that methodology. Again, completely understand. Why? There's a basic premise that this methodology will be used to lower down ultimate rates, right? So if you think about it, let's say a translator used to make $100 an hour and they were paid by word count or by pre-analysis logs. And now the assumption is that if they're being offered this edit distance is because they're going to make less. And I understand that's a fair assumption given translation agencies. So the assumption is, okay, now I'm only going to make $80 an hour. Maybe that is the case. But there's much more to be unpacked underneath that, right? I think if you look at edit distance, if we start to deconstruct it, the first element that we have to think about is the quality of the translation feed that you're receiving. If the translation feed, the translation suggestion, right, that's coming from the machine is awful, it's making you, it's slowing you down, it has a ton of weird errors here and there, and it takes you longer to weed those errors out and actually go through it, chances are that working in an edit distance framework is actually going to be very harmful for your ultimate pay. On the other hand, if the translation feed and the content type is working beautifully and the suggestions are actually accurate and pretty decent and good, and you're basically going through them and making a change here or there, chances are that the translation framework, I'm not saying the pay, is actually ultimately going to be good for you, right? So the first element that we have to analyze from an edit distance perspective is the quality of the feed that you're receiving. And the quality, I mean, not just about an objective idea of quality, but your personal reaction to that quality. Because again, I respect that there are translators who simply do not want to work with anything that is their own writing. Completely understand that, completely appreciate that. That's fine. There's an entire market for that. But the bulk of human content is moving in a direction where it's going to be pre-processed by some kind of machine translation engine, right? So, but the quality of that engine and how it's structured and the kind of content, that makes a big difference. The second thing that makes a big difference is the mindset, right? When you look at the mindset, what is your mindset when you're looking at this content? Are you agonizing? Are you enjoying it? Are you thinking everything's wrong and just, taking out your big red ink and just changing everything and trying to make it yours desperately? Are you satisfied with good enough? So these are all questions of mindset, and they completely also impact the outcome of edit distance. Because let's say if I'm reworking things without necessity, or if I'm not working enough or not correcting things that should be corrected, that will change the way edit distance works. A very interesting data point that we've seen in BureauWorks is when we measured works of thousands and thousands and thousands of translators in our platform, we currently observe edit distances that range from 1% to 77%. And we're talking about dozens of languages and all kinds of content. The variance is incredible, right? 1% to 77%. This means that there are people who are basically rewriting everything, and there are people who are basically confirming everything they get. Both extremes are probably, if you look under the microscope, you're probably going to find potential problems and issues with both extremes. But the fact is that it is possible from a statistical perspective to correlate good translation outcomes with a certain range of edit distance in every single language and every single content type. It's a big statistical exercise, but it is possible. Now, if we dig deeper, right, we've talked about the quality of the feeds that you're receiving. We're talking about the mindset that you're working with. And that mindset is going to then impact the financial model that you're working with when it comes to edit distance. So maybe the edit distance framework that you're using is actually that they're using with you is actually very unfair. Maybe they're paying you a very small amount of your time for reading and confirming a segment, and then it's not worth it, right? If you think about it, for an edit distance mechanism to be fair, that means that at the end of an hour, let's say you would typically make $100 an hour. If you get the edit distance and you process it through the financial model, you should be somewhere close. Maybe you're going to be at 90, maybe you're going to be at 110, maybe it's going to depend on the content type, but you should be somewhere close. That means that, let's say, the effort that it's taking you to read a certain sentence and not change it should be worth your money from a time perspective. If that's happening, great, right? Chances are that we're on the right track. Now, the other thing about the edit distance is it's not, so we talked about the quality of the feed, we talked about the mindset that you use to approach it, and we talked about the financial model. Now, the financial model is, in my opinion, like any trade transaction, it's always up for discussion, conversation. You can always choose to agree, disagree. Maybe it's going to be good for certain kinds of text, not good for other kinds of text. The fact is that I don't know a single person who knows, let's say, a golden standard, something that is universally acceptable for these financial models and edit distances. In the end, these are decisions that need to be made by individuals, and the only way I understand to make good decisions in this kind of way is to weigh out the pros and cons from a long-term perspective, right? Again, these are strategic decisions. Maybe you're going to just entrench yourself and say you're never going to work with this, and that's fine, and you're just going to find clients that are happy about not working with machine translation and edit distance. That's great. But maybe you do want to find a way to increase your pay and increase your income. And maybe there are ways where by working with edit distance, maybe at the beginning, so this is also something really hard to swallow, but maybe at the beginning you will earn less. But as you get better and better in this methodology, maybe your pay and your productivity is actually going to go up and up and up and up. So, and not only that, but maybe you're going to be more future-proofed. So it's not that I want to make an argument necessarily for it, but I do believe that trying things out, that understanding that things happen in a long-term perspective, and that being open-minded about things is more helpful in the long run than just entrenching and encamping yourself in a place of really not even trying things and experimenting them for yourself to find out whether or not they work for you. So if you like this video, but we'd love to know from you, have you ever tried edit distance? How has it been for you? Has it been terrible? Has it been great? And if you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Hope to see you in the next time. Take care.